safe house, coffee house, y'all. As I say, until they tell us no.
Even when they tell us no, we still won't.
We still sneaking in. But this is this is the new location for the ET Speaks.
Excuse me.
ET Speaks podcast. We are back. So, our topic for today, now mind you, this is a reshoot. We tried to shoot this. When did we try to shoot this? Monday?
Many moons ago.
Monday or Tuesday? We tried.
I had to switch up the flow, show you the way that it go. God is good, but his life is hard. But it gets better when you grind it smart. I'm just really trying to leave a mark. We tired of being who they say we are. That's the baton, we gon' take it far. Always been real, we don't fake it all. Tired of 9 to 5, just make enough to survive. Only living on the weekends. You really thinking that's why I'm alive? Listen out the scenes, time to live my dreams. Do the things deep inside of me. This life it continues with fighting me, but I don't have quitting inside of me. I will not jump in this.
To shoot this, and our mic malfunctioned, and we had absolutely no sound at all.
We were silent.
We were silent.
It's the night sky.
I need you not to be the weird British guy right now.
My lord,
No.
my lord. It's beginning. What? The ET Speaks podcast. Let's drop the new episode.
Okay, y'all. I don't know what to do now.
It's love. That's
He's
all.
in rare form today.
Yes, I am.
Rare form. Okay, so this episode is finally the long-awaited what is the Black experience. Now, we have had some discussions about this today because I don't want this to be a generic blanket overview of what it means. I want us to give
Reverence? Or
well, reverence. See this right. I want us to give.
there's something else that's going on, but it can't be seen on camera.
I can't.
Go
Okay.
ahead, go ahead.
Oh my God. I want us to give clarity for the subject, and I don't want it to be this thing where we are sugarcoating it or making light of it. Okay.
It's just, it's relaxing.
What is? What's relaxing? The goofy? The stupid? The strange?
No, it's,
So let's be serious.
no, it's a beautiful thing.
What is?
Just being married and figuring out everything in life, honestly, because it's like, really, it's I guess it's a 2-part segment. One is taking off the mask, and then the other one is what is the Black experience.
So what's going first? Taking off the mask or what is the Black experience?
I guess we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Honestly, because realistically, when you think about it, now you can.
I'm trying to laugh at you. I never, I buy these every time we come here, and I never get to eat a whole muffin because for whatever the reason, me and the muffin are at odds with one another. For some reason, I always end up with pieces of muffin. When I get home, there's always muffin left.
Muffin bit.
Okay, so
Realistically, when you're taking off the mask, it's basically, you first have to be comfortable with yourself. And that's what a lot of people have a hard time doing.
well, so talk about that part though. What are you comfortable? How long is it taking you to get comfortable with yourself? Are you fully comfortable with yourself? Are you still figuring it out?
I mean, for me, I'm still figuring it out. Because there was like, there's stuff that I'm starting to excuse me, there's stuff that I'm starting to venture in and look at and be like, I really do like it. And like I'm very much of this person to where if it's a trend, I don't try to follow it because eventually it's gonna die out. I'm very much of this thing where it's like I try to get my own understanding, and then I look at, okay, is this gonna benefit me or is this gonna be a hindrance? If it's gonna benefit me, okay, how is it gonna benefit me? And then eventually when I look at it, like I really wasn't big into anime, but I know once I'm in the space, once I'm in the headspace to dedicate or to allocate time to that, I would.
Check it out.
Yeah, because it's interesting, because it's like, yeah, it might be, some people say demonic, it might be whatever your POV is, but I'm doing it for the sole purpose of being better when it comes to content. Like what in that scene grabbed everybody's attention.
Right. And in the anime space, when you start to look at anime, anime has.
I am very sorry for that.
We'll call him that. Anime has.
Let me. Oh, I forgot to do this. Like the movie theater. Please silence all phones.
It's okay. Anime has a lot of stories that it's telling. Like there's depth to anime. There's always a superhero. There's always
There's a villain, an anti-villain, and it's funny when you look at anime. There's always that one character that you can relate to.
Right. Well, so if you understand the Aristotle writing method, which we've never talked about, but there is rising action, there is plateaus, there's the climax,
And there's a fall.
there's a fall, there's an introduction, you have an antagonist and a protagonist. And every single story has that. It doesn't matter if it's anime, it doesn't matter if it's cartoon, well, depending on the cartoon, but it doesn't matter if it's cartoons. You passing the yawn across that way. Think about yawn. Every story has the same basic formula, and because every story has the same basic formula, you can look at scene placement and the way the story is written, and you can get ideas from that. So if that's what you're using, I like anime because
It allows you to leave the world that you're in, or it allows you to take a break and look at, like, okay, once you've watched the TV show, now what we do is we look up, okay, who's the director, who's the writer, what point are they trying to get across, what made them or what inspired them to get that. And then we go back and we look at like Easter eggs, like if you look at what they're talking about and what they said, it's very much of this thing to where you're always looking to figure out what are they getting at, because everything has a hidden message.
Well, and everything does have a hidden message. And so this is a complete segue, mind you, because we were...
But it goes with what is being said as far
How?
as
Tell me
taking off the mask.
So, tell me how.
Because in everything there's a hidden message, and a lot of it is POV. And some of the messages actually are telling you that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be yourself. And some of the messages also expose what's already been there. You just didn't know, or that person didn't want to accept responsibility for it being there.
So, in terms of taking off the mask or removing the outer self, self-image, why is that important though? Like, why is that something that we have to do?
Because in order to become comfortable with yourself or know yourself, you have to sometimes we have to remove tradition.
And so, removing tradition, meaning like how?
Like some of the stuff that we were taught actually weren't good practices. Because that's part of the reason why the way the world is. Like they old folks used to tell us, never trust a pale face and a smile. But now you become a part of the problem, where it's that mindset, that old school mindset of all Caucasian people are negative.
Or you can't bring them home if they can't use my comb, or all the old wives' tales and all the same. So that comes back around to the original thought process.
Like
what is the black experience? What is it? Because I grew up.
Every person's interaction with the black experience or being black is different. So it's like you can't base what, like scenario. Also with mentorship cuts across the time to pan with what is a black experience, with you being more seasoned than I am, and you've witnessed a little bit more than I have,
Quite a bit.
there's certain stuff that you see that, okay, it's getting ready to shift that way. So with you knowing better, with you having that experience, there's certain things that you can prevent in a relationship from going. No, that's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna allow it. Because I know what the outcome can be. It's worse now than it was then. So
In some respects, yeah.
So it's like, it's certain curves, it's certain barriers that I don't have to deal with, because you looking at the entire situation and then you tell me, no, we're gonna handle it like this, and I'm gonna say, okay. And yeah, even though I might wanna fight, part of me is like, no, listen to what she's saying. Because there's a reason why she's saying it. Things don't get said for no reason. Or
sometimes they do, but not.
Well, in certain situations, like the black experience.
Like, for example, you as a black man, you don't always get treated
like that.
like a black man. People assume automatically
Middle Eastern,
your looks, that you're Middle Eastern, or that you're Indian,
Armenian,
Hispanic,
or not of this country.
Yeah, they assume that you are some type of foreigner.
And it's like
Until
even
you open your mouth and
true.
you go, oh, okay.
It's like even with dealing with police officers, and depending on the circumstances, it's very much the thing of. It's like a gray area almost. Not in every case, but in certain cases where it's like, if you have a white officer that isn't racist, but has a certain outlook on life, or
Depending on what their experience is and POV is.
Depending on what their POV is. You don't know what I am until I open my mouth.
Right.
So when I open my mouth, not only is he African American, but he speaks with. So now, even though I'm still in their eyes African American or black, it slightly makes it a little bit comfortable, because now it's like, oh, he's not just some dumb Negro that I'm talking to. Like, nah, he understands proper English. But
by the same token, the other side of it too is if you just look black, like if you weren't mixed with anything, and people saw you, the automatic assumption is, if you are going upon stereotypes, the automatic assumption is that you're ignorant, that you are violent, that you are
mischievous. You can't be
no good,
can't be trusted.
And so then it becomes this thing where you start to feel like
you're an outcast.
You're an outcast.
You're always getting singled out.
Profiled, singled out. And so, but that's only one part of that experience.
But I think a lot of that feeling outcast or feeling singled out is more mental. No. What I'm saying is, in that space, I would say some of it is mental, because it's like, so a man thinketh, so is he. So even though the situation isn't that way, how you start your morning is generally how your day will go. Because I don't have no control. Even though you're my wife, I don't have any control over that we're married, I can say something or I can make a statement, but what I can't do is, even if I watch every word that I say to you, you might be having an off day. I don't know.
Right.
I can't control the narrative of how you look at something.
No, you can't.
I can only control how I think.
Right.
So,
But-
if
Go ahead.
if I think that I'm being singled out, what I'm doing is adding more fuel to the situation for it to go negative. Even though the situation may already be negative, I'm adding more. I'm hyping myself up and giving more of a reason to feel that way than accepting.
Sometimes that's real, and sometimes it is what it is.
Exactly.
And you never know. I'll give you an example. I was driving.
Can I stop you for a second?
Go ahead.
But see, the beauty of it is though, once you've accepted a situation for what it is,
Okay.
you can't get mad every time it happens, because within yourself, when you talk about growth and you talk about how much a person has grown from when I first got down, from when I first got down here till now, I've grown a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you look at it, once you've made it up in your mind that the world is the way that it is, but no matter what, I'm still going to do what's right. Now the POV changes. You're mad, but your form of anger isn't in a place of, oh, every white person I see that walks down the street looks at me as if I'm a beast or whatever. It's okay. Let's see if there's a way that a small bit of change can come in that problem. But
you're also being hyper philosophical in this moment. And the reason why I say that is because this conversation, and we've had this conversation on multiple occasions. This conversation cannot be made soft for either side.
No, I'm not trying.
No, let me finish that. In other words, this is the conversation that is going to offend somebody. Nobody is going to come away from this conversation all sunshine and roses and sugar-coated monkeys. Every conversation is not hyper-spiritual. Every time we have a conversation, sometimes it just is what it is. Although God is in everything, and we as Christians, we know that, but sometimes you have to have realistic conversation. We know so a man thinketh, so also is he. We know life and death is in the power of the tongue. But the average person walking around in the street, they don't acknowledge that stuff. So because they don't, I know, attack it for you, I get it. They don't acknowledge that stuff. So because they don't acknowledge that stuff, they're only living in the constructs of what they know.
Which is the matrix.
It is the matrix, but that's the only thing you can go by. You can't go on anything else. And so when you, as a mixed African American man, are told by other African American men,
You're not black enough.
you're not black enough, or they don't feel comfortable when you say the N-word because they feel some type of way, like you mean something by it, when your daddy is as black as they are. You can't sugarcoat that. That is what it is.
But if
When I'm told that I'm black on the outside, but I'm white on the inside because I speak well and I'm goofy and I'm lame and I'm all these things, those are actual things.
But see, the beauty of it is
Change that. It is what it is.
true. And then if you also look at it too, what if it's almost like it makes you ask the question, why is the verbiage used if that's not a part of your normal MO?
What do you mean?
Like maybe you're being told no because you're supposed to stand out. And I'm not making an excuse for anybody, but it's like the post that you sent me. If it costs you your what, if you don't,
Yeah.
if you don't get invited, don't go. So it's like, it's almost like if you look at it,
It's okay to be different.
yeah, and that's the problem.
I used to be this person that wanted to be invited to a cookout. And then when I kept not getting invited to these different groups and mainly at church, but it was like this clique over here, or this group over here, or this group over there, and I'm here, hey, and nobody would invite me to their little space. And when I started to realize, God started to tell me, you don't fit into those spaces. So that's why I don't allow that to happen, because you don't fit into those spaces. Goofy. You know, my brain stops working and I start doing that. I can't think. You don't fit into those spaces. So because you don't fit into those spaces, I'm not going to allow them to invite you to the cookout because you don't fit in.
Because there's things in those spaces that you're not
Right.
It's
You're not
detrimental.
supposed to be a part of it. And that's only one aspect of it. The other part of it too is one person cannot dictate to another person of the same ilk, race, creed, gender,
what that experience is.
what that experience
You
looks like.
you can't tell me that what I experience is
Not the black
is not
experience.
the black experience.
Because for each person, your experience is singular to you. Now, there's going to be people that are going to disagree with this. There's going to be black people that are going to, they might be mad about this conversation, but I can't help it. The only thing that we can do is to point out the imperfections of what we see, live, and deal with. You cannot tell me, a black person, what my experience is. Because the black experience does not have to be
Color.
no, it is. But it doesn't have to be poverty. It doesn't have to be the ghetto. It doesn't have to be gangs. It doesn't have to be drugs. It doesn't have to be blatant prejudice. It doesn't have to be that every white person you see because you're black is racially profiling you. That does not have to be the black experience. You were born in London.
On a military base.
On a military base, you have traveled. You lived in Japan for years. You traveled all over the country because your parents were in the military. Are you having fun? You traveled all over the country because you were in the military. And when you got back to the hood, and you gonna put me to sleep, and then we not gonna have no podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna be in here like a slump. Put me to sleep. But because you've traveled all over the place,
A culturalist.
you're culturally diverse. But does that make you any less black?
No. And it doesn't make me more educated than the next person. So it's like, I think a lot of the times, the main problem in the world is every second of the day a new form of ideology is created. So it's like, and you can't destroy it, because now, in order to fully destroy ideology, every human being would have to die.
Well,
Because it's attached to-
He did that already once, and
And it's attached.
come back, and these weirdos still do the same stuff they was
And,
doing
and,
the
it-
last time.
and it's attached.
Kills y'all off. So
And ideology is attached to creativity, because someone has to think of that process. Or I think that, like, it's like you have these groups that are very much of the, oh, are you tired of getting beaten on by your husband? Well, I'm that female said, yeah, I am too. So y'all three form a group, and now it's a whole movement.
the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement.
So it's like, but the question is, instead of it being hate driven, why not actually have it be?
But do you know most movements are either hate driven or rebellion driven?
And then you also got,
There's very few
and then you
movements
also,
that are love driven.
and then you also have an agenda.
Right.
Like everybody,
Oh,
and this is in the part that I find annoying is, well, I wouldn't say find annoying. We actually,
no, you said what you said.
everybody wants to have a voice, but they never really take the step to analyze, okay, your voice eventually sounds like what everybody else wants. So instead of you having a voice, why not all come together as one and have it be one voice? But that's the one thing that can't be done.
Disturbing to me because there's such a lack of unity among our community that we almost don't have a community.
No, we have individualism.
We have a bunch of individuals who look alike.
We have individualism in the community, or in the society, and everybody wants to be we have a lot of individualists. Like, you have separatism, you have
Unification.
there's no unification, there's separatism, there's individualists, there's separatism, there's no unity, there's no unification. So it's like, that also stems from, if you look at slavery, the ideology that was separatism was indoctrinated into slavery, which caused lighter skin tones to fight against us, and your skin tones were outside. So it's wrong for light skinned people to do it, but it's okay for dark skinned people.
But so again,
Like, that's not you. How do you know? Maybe that is me. You just don't know that. Because you're not inside of me and I'm not inside of you.
right. So then it becomes this space where you say, when you start asking, what is the black experience? When you start asking, what does it mean to be African American? That's different for every person born with melanin.
And it's funny because Paul said something interesting. He's like, nobody's truly white. Everybody's different shades of brown.
Yeah.
If you look at it,
Well, if you look at
the definition,
if you look at what
that
white
that
actually
chair is white.
is, they can't see it. It's used something else. That's white. That's white, and that's black. So these two things, that's black, that's white. So we're not that.
We're not a color.
We're not right.
We're a being.
Right. We're humans.
Because technically white is transparent and black is
Black is the presence of every color. White is the absence of all colors.
So it's like if someone was genuinely white,
They
you wouldn't be able to see
They
it.
wouldn't have. Well, no, you can see it. They just wouldn't have the color.
It'd be like a ghost,
Right.
basically. And then if a person was truly black, they would be of darkness.
Right. And there's some people that are black. There's some people in Africa that sit right at black. Right at it.
Jet black.
Yeah, right at it.
They had a cutoff.
If this black, they right here.
They sitting on the threshold.
They sitting on the
But if you think about it though,
But some of your most beautiful people are that. I'm talking absolutely gorgeous.
like old girl from Black Panther, the one that played the ball, the one that played
Not
the
her. His
the
way darker than her.
the girl
Me
that
and her are so close in color.
the girl from when we were at Amazon delivering in Alpharetta, she was on the Gucci poster in the mall.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That girl is jet black. She's black. She's a beautiful girl.
Iman.
The Iman's not really that dark.
She's my she's like
She's between you and you.
she's
like
a she would be
Robin's complexion.
but with a hint with a little bit more of a darker pigment.
Yeah, but she's closer to Robin than she is to me or you.
there's different shades of melanin, and like
And melanin, but melanin doesn't dictate the experience either. It's not a skin thing.
it's a person thing.
It's a personal,
It's your personal experience.
right? Because nobody's asked. We didn't ask you, so.
Oh. So for those, so experience. Experience refers to conscious events in general, more specifically to perceptions or to the practical knowledge and familiarity that is produced by these possessions, these processes, understood as a conscious event in the widest sense. Experience involves a subject to which various items are presented. In this sense, seeing a yellow bird on a branch presents the subject with the objects, bird and branch, the relation between them, and the property yellow. So if we're looking at it in that light, the yellow bird sat on the branch. Notice that the definition didn't give the color of what the branch was.
But it's not that's too deep.
Oh,
The experience is
the yellow bird.
the yellow bird sat on the branch. I can see the bird's yellow, the bird's sitting on the branch. That's my experience.
We know that a book.
You might come along and you might look at the bird and you might say,
Why is it not flying?
right, your experience of it might be completely different. Three people can see the same scene
And have three
and
different
have
outlooks.
three different outlooks. Perfect example, the Bible. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. These four different people.
Mm-hmm.
They walked with Jesus in the last 3 years of his life, in the ministry part of his life.
But their interpretation
Each
of
one of their stories, they're telling the same story from four different angles.
mm-hmm.
They each talk about the crucifixion, they each talk about the flesh.
They talk about the resurrection.
They talk about when he was risen and when he go. All four of them talk about their experience with Jesus from their POV. Ooh, John, either Matthew or John was doctors, and either one of them was a doctor. I think it was Matthew.
Hold on. Hello, Siri. Matthew in the Bible, was he a doctor?
One of them was a doctor. I don't remember which one it was. It was Matthew, out of Matthew, Mark, Luke, John.
It is not the healed, it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick.
That's a scripture. Which disciple was a doctor?
Which disciple in the Bible was a doctor? Luke, evangelist and physician.
Okay, so Luke's story is the most detailed story out of all four of them. So, out of all four books of the Bible that talk about the story of Jesus and what was going on at the time, Luke gives the longest account.
But if you look at it though,
His is the most technical.
Even though-
he has details in his that nobody else
but
has
if you
in
look
theirs.
at his story though, this goes back to the construct of the system that they're all a part of. Even though his gives the most technical details, it's still a part of the greater vision.
But that's not the direction I was going.
Oh, my bad.
No, it's not. You're fine. The direction I was going in was
Oh,
it's about the
so you said Luke, Mark,
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So there's four of them.
Four people.
All four of them have four
spent
different
time.
all their POVs are different.
Right. They all had the same experience, and each one of them processes it different. All four of them were disciples. All four of them followed Jesus. Out of the 12, and they were the writers. They were the ones that wrote their experience, and each one of their experiences is completely different. Oh Lord, I don't know why I'm doing this yawning. I was not doing all this yawning. Hey, I was not doing all this yawning.
Neither was I.
Each one of them has a different experience. Each one of them experienced their life with Jesus completely differently. You can't fall asleep in the coffee house on camera.
This is a blooper moment. I don't need you to rush me in the morning. wrong with you?
What?
You need to get that together.
What's wrong?
This morning,
What you mean?
I was finna go play, and you was like,
For corn? For who? For corn song?
You talking about
And
next time.
ain't no, it'll be next time.
Oh man,
Yeah, because I'm tired now. I wasn't sleeping before.
I'm wore out. That muffin put me over the top. But no,
The Muffin Man.
to really end the podcast, and because it's a two-part segment,
Because he finna fall asleep sitting on his couch.
is don't let anybody tell you how you experience something. Your experience is your experience, and their experience is their experience. And to end out on a good note, peace, love, and hair grease.
Love, peace, and hair grease. And the other side of it too is that we have to remember, for real, in real life, we have to remember that each person's experience is theirs. And so you can't say what an experience is based on how you or how the stereotypical person sees it. Or just because my thought process on an experience is not the same as yours doesn't make me less of who I am.
True.
So you can't cheapen me as a person because my experience doesn't match yours.
True.
So
We out.
Either that or we fall asleep on camera like you. We out. Yeah.
That's a blooper.